Air Force guardsman and Republican candidate for Pennsylvania's 18th District, Luke Negron, speaks to One America's Amanda Brilhante. Here's more on how he plans to address the challenges America is currently facing.
Running in Pennsylvania's 18th District is Republican candidate Luke Negron. He describes himself as an ordinary citizen who decided to join politics, and he's running against Mike Doyle come November. Luke, thank you for joining me.
Good to be back, Amanda. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, Luke, something I want to point out. You are part of the U.S. Air Force Guardsmen, and you've been gone for about a month, returning from orders on July 4th. And you tweeted, "It's time to get to work." In fact, I have this tweet here, and you pointed out the hypocrisy of elites as well as media and radicals. So I want to ask you, what is your plan? What is going back to work?
Yeah, so I think that one of the big things that going back to work entails for every citizen, and specifically for anyone who's trying to be a leader in the social or political sphere, is calling out that hypocrisy. So I know we see in California, Gavin Newsom is now enforcing orders where there's to be no singing in churches and excessive wearing of masks, even amid what I would consider to be dangerous heat. The CDC would agree with me, as a matter of fact, about the dangers of wearing masks while exercising, while outside in the heat. We see people like Gavin Newsom enforcing these laws, and this is also in PA with Wolf and in New York with de Blasio and Cuomo. And yet 2 weeks ago, they were silent or supporting public protests in the streets with thousands of people screaming and sending particles of spit and germs around each other. So that type of hypocrisy, I think, is the number one conversation we need to have amongst ourselves as citizens and among the leaders right now.
And as somebody who is part of the Air Force and running for Congress, what can you say to your district about these protests?
Yeah, you know what? I am all for peaceful protests. I know I always mix up Andrew and Chris Cuomo, whichever one is on CNN. He asked the absurd question, where was it ever written that we're supposed to protest peacefully? Well, we have the right to peaceful protest, to peaceful assembly, not to destroy, shoot each other, destroy businesses, destroy communities. That is not what free speech or the right to assembly is about. But if you're doing something that's disruptive, that is blocking traffic, where emergency personnel can't get to where they need to go, where people are suffering and losing money, cannot partake in that. That's a bridge too far.
So to keep the protests peaceful. Now, Luke,
absolutely.
One last question for you. There's some possible more restrictions coming on with everything going on with coronavirus. So if there's a possible second lockdown, what do you think the implications are for our nation as well as internationally?
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question, because actually the UN has released some numbers and projections that I believe it's north of 100 million people globally are expected to starve because of the economic implications of what happened with these shutdowns. But people globally are going to starve, literally, because of this, and this is from the UN. So I think this is going to be a huge problem. I think that a second shutdown is a big mistake, especially when we see that the testing has gone up, but the mortality rate and the hospitalization has gone down. That's kind of the full picture that most media sources won't tell you. They'll just tell you increase in cases. What they don't tell you is those increases in cases are largely asymptomatic, they're not hospitalized, and they don't die. That's actually great news, but it's being leveraged right now to scare people for what I believe are political purposes. I think that's a huge problem. I think it's so dangerous.
So to look at the whole picture, not just these numbers that are coming out here in the media.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Luke, for giving your take on all this. We have your website up so people can learn more about you and know where to donate to your campaign as well.
Thank you, Amanda.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.